Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and this is the Road to the Record, where I work to achieve mastery of 10 games in a hunt for the best score of the Decathlon. If you like what you see, remember to hit that like button. If you want to see more, hit subscribe. Let the games begin. Alright, so this is Draft Day Sports College Basketball 2017. This is episode number 2. In episode number 1, we covered the preseason up to a point, and from there, I've concluded the preseason and am now ready to begin the regular season. We are on day 1 of the season. We're about to get our first game underway, but before we do that, we need to take our first look at the roster. So on this roster, we have 13 players under scholarship. We have 2 walk-on players, and we have a pretty even balance positionally on the squad. One thing of note is at the shooting guard position, I have 3 players. 2 of them are seniors. 1 is a junior. We will definitely need to address that through recruiting. If not this season, then next. In terms of player ratings, the ratings go from 1 to 100, and you can see from shooting field goals inside the paint, the team is just pretty low in terms of quality. We have 1 decent inside shooter and a couple players that can get by, but we have ratings of 10 out of 100 or 11 out of 100. So we will struggle to score inside. Jumper-wise, we have some decent shooters when it comes to that. So we'll be working on trying to get that outside shooting going as much as possible. The one area of note that we'll pay the most attention to is the overall ability. So this is unlike the previous one where it's 1 out of 100. This is out of 5, and it's a star rating. So 3 out of 5 would be 3 stars, 3.5 stars, and so on. Now the left-hand column of these two is the current ability. So Darius Galloway, our senior shooting guard, is 3 stars of his current ability. The right-hand column is their potential ability, which means he could potentially become a 4-star player. However, as a senior, I doubt that he's going to get there, though there can be improvement over the course of the season. But most likely, at best, we'd see him rise to 3.5. So looking at the squad, I do have 3 decent players on the squad with 3-star ratings, excuse me. But 2 of them are shooting guards. So we're going to have to make sure we find a way to get both of them on the court from time to time. We do have a little bit of depth where we have 7 players that are 2.5 stars or above, and 2 additional players at 2 stars. And this bottom tier group will rarely play with some pretty pitiful ratings, including a couple half stars. All right, well, before we go over our progress in recruiting, which was what we had left off with, we are going to go ahead and get our first game in, and then we'll talk about recruiting after that. So here, we're going to have our first game of the season, and instead of doing a simulation of it, I'm going to go ahead and show you that game. So we're going to play against High Point in the first game of the season. I have very low expectations for this year with such a low prestige and a pretty weak roster, but we'll see what we can do. All right, so you have options of playing a 2D version or their Gamecast. We're going to go ahead and go with the Gamecast and begin the game. So taking a look here, here is our roster, our starting roster, and our game speed is 1 to 10. Now, many of you will probably want to play at a slower pace, but being that we are in that lowest division and we have a long ways to go before we are going to have much of a quality team and be competing for any kind of tournament positions or league championships or anything like that, I'm going to stick with that 10 speed so that we can push things along and get quite a few seasons in a short amount of time. All right, so getting things started here early, we already find ourselves down quite a few points. But we seem to have made a little run here. We're back within 5 points, which is pretty decent. Not too bad. We're within 3 points here late in the first, within a point. Surprisingly, we've been able to get a bit of a run going, and we have a lead, our first of the season. All right, well, pretty impressive first 20 minutes of the season. Let's see if we can hang on in the second half and get our first win. All right, we're approaching the halfway mark of the second half, and we are hanging on to a slight lead. Statistically, we're looking pretty decent. And I'm going to have to maybe make use of these timeouts here as time goes on. I might also want to slow this game down a little bit as we get into the final 5 minutes. And let's go ahead and do that. So 3-point lead, 4 minutes to go. And see, you can see just slowing it down a single bit will slow us. And we're going to need a timeout here. Oh, we got the 3. Excellent job. All right, let's slow it down a little bit more. Last 3 minutes. There we go. So we take a 5-point lead in the final 3 minutes of the game. On the court, we have plenty of energy. That's out of 100. So our players are not too tired. Nobody's in foul trouble. Brian Saunders has 3 fouls. Jonathan Dang leading the way with 19 points in the game. Only a couple boards, only a couple turnovers. He's definitely getting it done through shooting. And we got a 7-point lead going into the final 2 minutes. I think we might actually pull out victory in our first game and get our first points in the Decathlon right away here in episode 2. Right. So we did get our free throws, but they came down to the other end, got 3, closing it down. We are not doing too well hanging on to this lead here late, but we're nailing those free throws, which are all important if you know anything about basketball and a close game. Free throws mean everything. Haskins makes his as well with 30 seconds to go. We are up 5, up 7 now with 2 more free throws. I think we're going to do it. 10 seconds, 6 seconds, 3 seconds. And that's a wrap. We even end the game with a 3-pointer ending on high. Brian Saunders. That put him into double digits. Jonathan Dang finished his game with 21 points. And surprise, surprise, we come out with our first win of the year. All right, so Olympic Decathlon pulls off the upset, starts season 1-0. All right, so we're going to keep things moving right along here. Honestly, I'm quite surprised that we were able to get that shock victory. Really impressed with how the team did, even though, of course, it was a quick simulation and I didn't have much to do with that at all. And this is the team that we inherited. I think it would be real sad to see if the team actually ends up doing fairly well this year and then completely drops off next season. But then again, a simple explanation for that would be the fact that this was a random roster that was created, and maybe 3 stars is actually pretty decent to have, and I could be struggling. So we're going next up against North Carolina Greensboro, and we're actually going to go ahead and quick sim this game and see if things hold true and we end up leveling off at 1-1, or if the surprise continues. No, so we do drop to 1-1, and we'll get a couple more quick games in and then check on the team and see how we're doing. Now, meanwhile, while all of this is going on, we still got to work on recruiting. So we're going to go ahead and take a chance now while we're sitting at 1-1, a couple games into the season, and we're going to check up on our uh, recruiting at this point in the season. So if you look at our uh, budget, we have 15,000 remaining. So I think we're in pretty good shape there, and we should be able to finish off the recruiting season with a little bit of money left over. I do not have any scholarships left to offer, but that does not mean they are all gone. They are actually out right now. So this is what is left of our recruits that had interest. Uh, the recruits that have been removed from this list, half of them had gone off to sign with other teams already, so they've already turned in their verbal commitments. And the remaining group just didn't draw enough interest. Couldn't get into their top 10, or maybe only just hovering around ninth or 10th, and we didn't have enough to push them any further along, so they've been removed from the list. Also, overall rankings have changed drastically up and down on quite a few players. Uh, our top player that we had been looking at, uh, the power forward, I can't remember what his name was at this point anymore, but we had an offer in with him for quite a while, and we had been sitting at number 2 on his list right from the get-go. And he ended up getting an offer from the number 1 team on his list, and he ended up signing with them, so we didn't get him. However, he had actually dropped down in the rankings a fair amount, and so it wasn't a huge loss not to get him. But at this point of our 3 scholarships, we actually have been able to sign 2 players. The first one here is Ian Dawson, and of all the players remaining on our list, he is actually the highest ranked. So we've landed a point guard in Ian Dawson, who's not too bad. He's not a great player. His rank is 911, but thanks to location and academics and playing time, we were able to bring him in. He does not have any A qualities, but you can see he's pretty well rounded. There's no Fs, only a handful of Ds, and so this player could end up being a pretty decent player for us. And should boost the squad a bit within his second or third season. Also of note, he's got a 3.2 GPA, and so he should be able to contribute and do well academically and not fall into too much trouble, hopefully. All right. The other player we've been able to get a verbal agreement on is center Donald Bailey. Donald Bailey is a little bit lower down in the rankings at 1115, but on the other uh, uh, rankings, he had been as high as 741. So we have seen him at a higher level, and hopefully he can get back there. Now, this player does have some Fs. His outside shooting, free throw shooting, his athleticism, and defense are all pretty poor. Uh, Overall, he is just a C, uh, middle of the road player. But when you're a bad team, a middle of the road player can still be helpful. He has a good passing center. One of the offensive schemes that I run does use a passing center, so he should be pretty effective at that, and he should be able to get some rebounds and get some blocks for us. And all importantly, his inside shooting is really good, so he should at least be able to get the occasional points on board for our team. Going back out, we do not have any scholarships available because there's currently an offer in on another player. This is the next highest ranked player out there. He's from Klamath Falls, which is on the southern end of Oregon, but he's at least an in-state recruit. He's been hovering around that top 1,200. He's only just inside the top 1,000, so not a very good recruit overall at a C. But again, he has a lot of C's across the board, so he should be fairly average. We've been sitting at number 2 on his list for a while, and I've never been able to reveal who his other top schools are. And it could be all important on who that number 1 school is and whether they offer him a scholarship or not, whether he will eventually sign with us. But he's had an offer in for I'd say about a month now. So hopefully he'll sign with us. If not, the next guy on our list actually drops down quite a ways. He's only in the top 1700. This is not a quality player by any means, but we have that desperate need at shooting guard. And we are the top school on Mike Walters' list. Overall, he's still a C. So, with that in mind, uh, we might end up grabbing this player to shore up our need at shooting guard if we're not able to sign that small forward, Flanagan. All right, so back to the season, and let's go ahead and get through the week. All right, so that's the end of the first week of the season.
You have new mail. You have new mail.
You can see we're still at 1-1.
You have new mail.
We didn't have any additional games. Let's see what's up with the mail here. 4 new mail. Okay, these are upcoming games here, scouting reports, and our 2 previously verbal agreements have signed their letter of intent. So that is good to see that they have gone ahead and stuck with us. They are official recruits now. All right, so let's see what happens. If we sim a whole week, we should have a couple games during this week. And let's see if we can show any sign of consistency and the ability to grab some wins, or whether we're going to drop to that 1-3. The first games ended up a loss. We're at 1-2. You know, if this competition was for coming in last, I'd be pretty sure that we'd be in good shape for that one. But that's not the case. We are looking to get wins here. We are looking to move up. It's just going to be a tall order, 1-3 now. This is more what I had expected to see. And that first win, we certainly can't claim it at all for ourselves because I didn't do anything. I didn't even use any timeouts in that game. The team just got streaky and made some shots and took a lead and then somehow held on to it.
You have new mail.
Okay, so we did go winless that week. That is more of what was expected. Again, I'm thinking we could end up in the 4 or 5 win range for this whole season. So let's see what kind of mail we got. Yeah, scouting reports, 2 more games this week. We'll go to our recruits and see if there's anything that can be done. Okay. Oh, we have dropped to 3rd on Flanagan's list. There we go. Oh, I can scout him live. That's good. I haven't had that option yet this season. So we're going to get an update and see how he's doing. Willis is a player I've not been able to get to come to the school. We've been just outside of his top 3 for the longest time here. Let's see if there's any difference now. No. Right, that's Bailey. We've already signed. Here's Springer. And we'll watch. No, I'm not going to watch him live. I'm going to save that for that shooting guard. This is also another player that has not come to visit our school yet. Okay, Mason. Mason's a player that every time I call, I've had real difficulty trying to get any information out of him. He always hangs up on us. Here's another one. Oh, scout, watch film. Yeah, okay. Watch film. Here's Mike Walter. That's the one I'd like to see live. We still have some information on him that we don't have yet either, though it's stuff that doesn't matter as much. And that's it. It's our last one. Facilities. There we go. All right, and I think that should do it. Yeah, back to Dawson. All right, it's a little quicker and easier now that we're down to just a handful of players. All of them have either 2 or 3 level interest, as I got rid of the ones that just were not improving in that area. And let's go ahead and sim through another week and see if we can get any surprises this week. At 1 and 4. All right, so we have one more game coming up here before the end of this week, and that too was a loss at 1 and 5. So while it's continuing this simulation, if we take a quick look here, we have Chris Blanchard averaging just over 10 points a game. That shooting guard, Darius Galloway, is leading the way on assists, but just 3 per game, so we're hurting in that category. Though you do tend to get lower numbers in college than you do in the NBA on this. And our center, Kevin Wise, at 5.5 rebounds per game. So we are definitely struggling in these categories. Though getting a block and a half out of a shooting guard is pretty nice stat for that category. But playing a pressure defense and having a center just over 1 steal per game is definitely hurting. It looks like we have just one game coming up this season. Cal Riverside from Conference P, which is not much higher than where we're at. By the way, well, this is the non-conference part of our schedule, which means these games should be even tougher. We're in the lowest division, so there shouldn't be anybody lower than us to play against. So with that the case, every non-conference game is a bit challenging. Though Cal Riverside is just 2 and 4, we may go ahead and watch that game and see the progress of the team. So let's go ahead and sim in this day. There we go. Looks like we have Dallas at 3 and 2. Let's not watch that one. That might be ugly. See if we actually have a chance in a game. I presume we'll be 1 and 6 here in a moment. No, surprise, surprise. I guess we should have watched that game. Olympic Decathlon pulls out the upset, goes 2 and 5 on the season. Looks like this team's not too bad after all. We might actually come out of this season, at least with a handful of wins. If we get to 10, it would be a miracle. But I've been impressed with their performance so far. There we go. Delaware State, 3 and 4. Okay, well, let's go ahead and watch this game. We've got a chance here. It's at least a below 500 team. All right, so we are on the road, which is going to make it even tougher. All right, so let's get to that game cast. So you can see here's Wise, the center. Dang is the starting shooting guard, and Galloway is starting point guard. All right, we're going to up that speed to 10. We'll start fast and we'll slow the game down if it's close late. Ooh, ugly start. We're down 7-0 right away and struggling. I'm going to take a timeout. If it'll let... Oh, I did use the timeout. It's not stopping the bleeding. We're getting slaughtered here early in this game. 26-9. I used a second timeout there. It's not changing the momentum. We're down by 20 points. Well, the bleeding seems to have stopped. We were back within 12 points there for a moment, showing some signs of life. Down 13 at the half. All right, well, we're slowly working our way back in. I saw us within 6 points there for a moment. And the comeback is on. We are within 3 points with just under 11 minutes to go in the game. Let's see what we can do. I've got 2 timeouts at my disposal. Just under 9 minutes to go. Looks like Darren Brunson's been the hot hand today. He's got 16 points, 5 rebounds overall, 3 of them on the offensive glass. He's shooting 4 for 8. Looks like a lot of those points have been from the free throw line. And now within 3 points, 1 point with 7 minutes to go. I think Delaware State might be starting to sweat now. Kevin Wise also doing pretty well in this game. He's got 12 points, just 3 boards though. All right, well, we've slipped it down by 6. If we give up any more points here in the next little bit, I'm going to have to use one of those timeouts to try to stop the bleeding. 4 minutes to go. Yep, let's take that timeout. Let's see if we can use that to pick anything up. Down 7. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and use a timeout. We've only got a minute and a half. If we're going to do something, we've got to do it now. We're missing our shots. Galloway misses both free throws. Haskins gets a layup after a steal. And that's going to do it. We did make a game out of it after getting blown out early, but the loss came. 69-61's final score. Tough game, but we did play much better in the second half. All right. And we're going to finish out the week, and we're going to keep pushing through the season. So it looks like we have 1 scholarship left to give out. We have a long season ahead of us at 2-6. The struggles should be expected to continue, but we do have conference play coming up here in the short term, and hopefully we can bag a few more wins before the season goes on. So as we leave off here, we've got 2 wins, which means we have 10 points scored for the Decathlon. At least we've got the scoring underway. And so that does it for this episode. I am Decathlon Gamer, and remember, I'm aiming for the best of the best. So if you're ready to join me on my journey, hit subscribe, and tune in next time on my road to the record.